So sorry for being a bit late this morning, but please remember, if I come late, you can always start without me. We can figure out how to do that. But anyway, welcome to today's talk. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about insight, especially the deeper types of insight. But first of all, the one thing which I have found, like living as a monk in a monastery, we have to do many worldly things there, working and sorting out relationships, one monk with another monk, the monks with the nuns with the monks, so we can have some friendship and support and overcome like doubts. And there's so many stuff which we do. And one thing which I have kind of discovered is that the sort of problems which you have in the world, in your life, in monastic life, or in meditation life, many of those problems are very similar. And a problem which is solved, say, in your mind when you meditate, you can apply that out into the world to make a better life for yourself in the world. And so it seems to be like the meditation retreats is like a gym. You go there and get a really fit mind. So you go out there into the world and you don't tend to get so sick or so tired. You know how to deal with things. And so there's many insights which you get as a senior monk. Sometimes you have to do a lot of work. And it's not just, when I'm in this room here, that, when I'm in the hut and go to a monastery and check all these things and go to committee meetings and fill out reports and all sorts of stuff. There's so much work you have to do, even as a senior monk. Sometimes people think, oh, you're a monk, you're a nun, you just sit in a monastery all day, blissing out. But of course, that monastery needs to be maintained, looked after. And sometimes, the monks might have an argument, just misunderstandings, or somebody in a bad mood one day because they get up on the wrong side of the bed. That's the insight which I always got, is that when you sleep on the floor, there is no wrong side of the bed. So you're always happy. And the other thing I noticed, for those of you who've seen my cave, in the cave, there's, when you're not sort of on a bench like I am now in the teacher's cottage, where you sleep like a little simple bed, when you're not raised up, you're never worried about rolling out of bed. You just roll and roll and roll on the floor, and you roll and roll and roll and roll back again. As much simplicity just has a lot of benefits to it. It does mean you have less work to do. And that's one of the greatest things. You see, again, this hall here. There's not photographs on the walls, or the shrine is just so small. In some monasteries, they have this huge shrine. And the shrine is bigger just than the rest of the place where people can sit meditation. I see there's an imbalance there. The shrine is there for a purpose, and you understand the purpose of these things which we do. So we understand the reason why we chant. Do you know why we chant? If you don't, then don't chant. The reason why we chant, first of all, you do need some exercise for your mouth, because, as I say, that if you haven't talked for a long time, and then it's very hard when you go home to teach, to talk. We do a little bit of exercise just to keep ourselves fit, because even when we do the walking meditation, we go very slowly. And we do also the chanting, because after a while it can inspire us. Of course, many of those chants are in just the old language, but nevertheless we can put some energy and effort into them. And especially the last chant, this is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness, who knows the path of peace. And it's one of the parts of Buddhism which I was, again, very impressed with. Where most other spiritual paths or religions taught you what to believe, Buddhism was teaching you how to find out. And that's what I really, really wanted, maybe because Westerner sort of trained in science. How do you find out? I'm not going to believe people, because in life, that some people say the right thing, some people say the wrong thing. Some people say the right thing, but you can't understand truly what they said, and so you misunderstand them, and you still get some wrong ideas. But you want to find out, how do I find out for myself? And that's where we have that path. This is what should be done. Let it be gentle, kind, peaceful. And I mentioned already, not to be proud and demanding in nature. And that might feel just like out there in the world, wouldn't work. You've got to fight to get what you need. Do you? Look at this jhana grove here. Did I fight to get this? No, it was actually good fun all the way. All the building and all the stuff which went on. And especially the final part of this. Yeah, it was sometimes a bit scary. Because I was supposed to be the overseer of this project, and some of the bills which came in. I remember I was over in Sydney once, and I think a bill came in from the builder about $600,000. We only had about $200,000 in the bank. Ah! Those things happen in life. What would you do? What's happened to you? What I did, I sort of emailed back to the builder and said, some of these things in your account, I'm not quite sure if they're quite true. Can you please check them for me? And then about the month he took to check them, then more donations came in so we could pay the bill. They're all right, they're all okay. All these little tricks of the trade. But anyway, one of the things why the builder and he was like a friend. He actually came here to try and do a retreat. That was anyone who knows the building industry. That was like Jerry Hansen. He sometimes gets into a fight with other builders or with the unions. But anyway, he's a really nice man. And because he was a friend and impressed, so he came here to try and do a 9-day retreat once. It lasted about 2 days. He's just too restless, too much work to do. But anyway, it was welcoming for him. So when you have that kindness and welcoming for people in your life, and welcome them, you can make mistakes. That's one of the most important things which you get insight into. You're allowed to make mistakes. Is that real? You're not going to tell me off if I make a mistake and do things wrong? Of course not. Because when we make a mistake, that's where we learn from. And it's those mistakes is where we grow. And that's what I loved about Buddhism. As I said yesterday, no punishment, but encouragement. So we can do better next time. So little by little, we're not afraid in running a monastery or running a nun's monastery or running a Buddhist society in West Australia. It's as any committee members here now. No, it's a few ex-committee members. But it works just about. Sometimes sometimes wonder why it works. But I always remember that saying. Many people in today's world, they don't like organized religion. That's why they come to us, because we are disorganized religion. We're not bad. You can get your room and stuff, but it's not like efficient, like if you go to a hotel and you got we haven't got a concierge. Are you the concierge also, Lehan? Leha? You're not the concierge? No. Advertise for one. No, we don't want that. We don't have a complaints box. I think I did that once, not here, but in our city centre. Put a complaints box up. We got, I think, 2 donation boxes and we had 1 complaints box as well. Donation box never get filled. Complaints box, that get filled. So we took it down again. So, yeah, you see this as well. Now, that's our city centre. What about in your meditation? Have you got a complaints box in your mind? The meditation was really good today. I got stuck. I didn't make any progress. I've just been meditating for years, nothing's happening. You've got a huge complaints box in your mind for when all the things go wrong. Take it off. Throw it away, the complaints box, donation box, all the wonderful things you can give to your meditation. My meditation was really terrible yesterday, but today I'm going to give this time for meditation. Then it works. There's something which I noticed in insight. There's something which we call a fault-finding mind. In the world, you have to have a fault-finding mind. If you're a doctor, you've got to find the faults in the patient. What's wrong with them? I did tell you that story, and I'm not sure, please interrupt me if I did, about the lady who went to the hospital and the doctor said, I'm really sick. So what's wrong? He said, well, it hurts. Where does it hurt? It hurts all over. He said, I touch my head and it hurts. Touch my nose, it hurts. Touch my chin, it hurts. Touch my arm, it hurts. Touch my belly, it hurts. Touch my knee, it hurts. And the doctor said, I know your problem. You've got a broken finger. Did I tell that one before? Yes. Well, some were paying attention. And some were half asleep. You lazy, inattentive, unmindful people. That's a nice simile for insight, because sometimes, it's true, we hurt, but we're looking at the wrong place. We want to blame our body, but it's our finger. It is a problem. Just like life. You may blame your partner, your husband, your wife, your kids, your parents, your government, your monk. It's not my fault. But if you have a fault-finding mind, anything you get upset at. Sometimes people say that, you put so much effort and energy into making this place comfortable. Some people come in and say it's too comfortable. What are you going to do? So say the food is too nice. Should be more simple. Should only have like rice, a bowl of rice, that's all, and a frog. Some people are weird. But they don't realise that there's nothing wrong with the retreat centre, there's nothing wrong with the weather, there's nothing wrong with your bed, there's nothing wrong with the beautiful monks and nuns. It's just our mind, we can find fault with anything. And because we know, for instance, we can find fault with anything, which is one of the reasons why we can find beauty in anything. And that means when there's fault with anything, you can see that negativity, that sucks energy out of your body and mind. And it's work to do. You've got to fix it up. You've got to teach people how to build retreat centres or do stuff. That's why you may have overheard me when I was talking with Venerable Metaji that we have a rule, one of our golden rules in Bodhinyana Monastery, it should be in Dhammasara Monastery, I hope it is, that if anybody has a suggestion to improve the place, and it's a good suggestion, then they have to do it. It's a great rule. They say that there's too much, I don't know what, we should sweep the paths more often. Good idea. Do it. The garden needs more weeding. Yeah, I was looking at the garden today, it's getting a bit overgrown. I'm not going to say that, because sometimes people say, Ajahn Brahm, well, you do it. Well, you can see if it's really necessary, people are very happy to give a hand and help. But a lot of times, the fault finding is just, this is negativity, always trying to find mistakes in life. And of course, that goes to yourself as well. You find mistakes in you. There's so many mistakes which I make, so many jokes I've told before, so many. Have you ever told a joke and forgot the punchline? Well, I'll try this one. There was this young man, he invited his girlfriend out to the school prom, the formal, where everyone has to dress up. And she accepted. So, he went to get a suit. You can't wear just Aussie national dress, you've got to wear a proper suit and tie and everything. So I went to the shop, but it was prom season. So, he had to line up in the queue for quite a while to get his suit. Oh, and then beforehand he had to line up to get the tickets for the big dance. And then he got his tickets, he got his suit. Now he's got to get, I don't know why they do this, get these limos. If that was me, I'd get a hearse. Hearse is big, can fit many people in there. Honestly, when we were discussing in monastery about getting a new car, the old car was a bit old. So what car should we get? And I thought that would be a best car for a monastery, a hearse. Because it's got this big room in the back. So, all the sort of dharna and stuff which comes when we go into town, you can put it all in there. And, sometimes I do get tired, I'm getting old now. And so because I'm getting old, okay, I'm not getting old, I am old. I won't tell that joke again. But sometimes it'd be wonderful, it's just so enticing. If you had a hearse, you could put like a coffin in the back. And after the dharna or giving the talks or something, I can actually go in the box and have a nice rest. And it's supposed to be illegal, to rest in the back of a moving vehicle, but no one will stop you if it's in a hearse. I thought it was a really good idea. But people said, no, because I don't know why people are scared of such things, but anyway. Nevertheless, it was just an idea. But when you have these different ways of looking at life, and that's what jokes actually do. They take something like having a hearse as your vehicle, and no one's really thought about that before. Just, it's a no-no, but you do it. And then there's many advantages in that. You have a retreat center like this, and some people, no one will go there. And of course, it's so peaceful and beautiful, they do go here. You have your meditation. You suggest just let go, let it be, don't do anything. Then after a while, people say, no, that can't work. But after a while, you find it does work. So a lot of times, the insights which you get is just doing things in a slightly different way and finding how powerful that can be. Even just small things of breathing in backwards. And breathe out first, then in, out first, then in. It should be exactly the same. But it's a different process, and because you're looking at it a different way, it actually works. It's more interesting to watch. So little by little, just what we learn in meditation, we learn in life. What we learn in life, we transfer to meditation. Fault-finding minds just tend to disappear. And imagine what it's like not to have a fault-finding mind. You can be really content. I did see the latest today's quote, which Leha put. It's you. Are you the culprit, Leha? Putting up the quotes? Yes, okay. Don't do today what you can put off until tomorrow because you might die tonight. Do you believe that? If you do, then don't have lunch. Okay, are you going to be true to your word? You can have lunch. Put off lunch until tomorrow. You can do it tomorrow. No, but there's so much stuff. As you know, sayings like that, it's not just fun. Many, many people have to do today everything. Compulsive doers. So much so they never have any rest. I'll meditate tomorrow. And when it comes to tomorrow, there's more stuff to do. I'll meditate tomorrow. Next day, more stuff. I'll meditate tomorrow. When I retire, then I'll meditate. And you retire, and just you're too weak and old at that time, maybe. Or actually, we don't have retirement's not like it used to be. When many people retired in the old days, they'd have nothing to do. They'd stay at home, maybe do a bit of gardening, enjoy themselves. But these days, when you retire, you volunteer for all these other organisations, and you get so busy, you're more stressed out than you were before. And you've got to look after the grandkids and stuff like that. At least that's one thing as a monk I don't have to do. But what it does mean is that people have lost the art of doing nothing. They just don't know how to do it. You're at home on the weekend, there's nothing to do. And many people, I've been to your houses, you've got beautiful homes. What happens when there's a long weekend? It's Australia Day coming up soon. I don't know if there's a holiday or whatever. But anyway, when there's a long weekend, what do people do? They get in their cars and go south or north or go anywhere. So, why are you running away from your homes for? When I was staying in one of the other huts over in Bodhinyana Monastery, it was an A-frame hut. And the upper story of the A-frame hut, I could sit there and just, on a Friday night, watch all the cars on the Southwest Highway going south. You could see with the headlines, they're all going south. And on Sunday evening, they're all going north. What a waste of time that was. I said, well, what are you doing that for? Because everyone else does it. They want to get away from everybody, and they go down south and find everyone's already gone down there. If you stay at home, you're much more peaceful. And when you have a long holiday, remember in the old days you used to go overseas? And how tiring that was. You know, all those preparations and visas and passports and flights and waiting around the airports, and no wonder people got sick. You know what that's called, don't you? Terminal illness. Going to too many terminals. But anyway, so why can't you stay at home and enjoy your holiday at home? People have got these beautiful houses, and there's no place like home. There's no bed like your own bed at home. And some people have got little gardens. If you haven't got a garden, you can go to King's Park or a nice little park close by, or if you want to go for a swim, you can go to the beach. And no, swimming in sort of the beaches in Perth is not that much different than swimming in the beaches in Bali, is it? I don't know, because I've never been to the beaches in those places. I did once go to the beach in Bunbury, if you know this story. True story, this was many years ago. I was teaching in prisons, and one of the prisons I would teach at is in Bunbury Regional Prison. And that was in the evening, that's when they wanted me to go there. So I go there in the Australind from Serpentine station and hang out on the beach in the afternoon. I thought it was safe enough, because Bunbury Beach is very big, and I was, maybe a couple of kilometres south of the city, and beautiful beach, and it was peaceful. So in the afternoon I sat meditation, crossed my legs and sat meditation. I don't have good meditation, a couple of hours meditating. There's no one there at all. And then when I opened my eyes, came out of my meditation, again you're just really scared. You know why? Because I saw in the corner of my eye, on my left, there was a 17-year-old girl in a bikini sitting there on my left. And I looked to my right, and there was another 17-year-old. I think one was a blonde, one was a brunette, also in a bikini, just sitting there next to me. And I thought, oh my God, if somebody had a camera, fortunately it was the days before you had your mobile camera, and they take a photograph, how could you explain that? Ajahn Brahm on the beach with his two girlfriends. But the truth of the story was this. I'd been meditating, and I was sitting really peacefully. Because sometimes you don't watch TV, you do see a newspaper every now and again, but you don't pay too much attention to what's going on. And it was in November, and that particular day was the last exam of the Year 12 exams. And just opposite, it was always really quiet, was the local high school, Bunbury High School or something. And what would you do? Year 12 exams over, yay, let's go to the beach and celebrate. And they all went to the beach, put on their bathers. That's why I knew that it was a 17-year-old girl, because it was Year 12s. And then they saw this monk sitting on the beach, really quiet and peaceful, and they had never seen that before. And it was really peaceful. I didn't know they'd come and sat next to me, or they're playing in the ocean, because when you're meditating, you're deep inside, nice and quiet. And when I came out, they said they'd been waiting there for about a quarter of an hour, half an hour, for me to come out, because they really were interested. They wanted to ask some questions about Buddhism and meditation. That's the only thing they could do. There's plenty of time to swim later on. They were sitting next to me just waiting for me to come out of my meditation. And that's a true story. I didn't make it up. But nevertheless, I made sure that my answers were very brief. So I could get away before someone saw me. Well, that's an interesting life you have as a monk. Always one of those other silly stories. So that's why sometimes you have to be very careful. You've got a pure mind, you're not up to any mischief. But nevertheless, the situations, they come up and just, what's going on? Over in Pinjara, the town south of here, I was invited to the Lions Club. I don't usually go to those Lions Clubs anymore without really checking out the venue. Because many of those Lions Clubs stuff, they have them over in pubs. But most pubs have the back rooms. It's always in the back room of the pub. So say it's in the back room of the pub in Pinjara. And so I arrived there, and I think the Anagarika who drove me had to go do something else, so they just dropped me, or rather disembarked me, at the entrance to the pub. And I said, "Now, where's the room for the Lions Club meeting?" I said, "It's right in the back. You've got to go through the pub to get to it." Is there no other way? And there wasn't. That's the usual way. You've got to go right through the pub to get there. Oh, crikey, what am I going to do? I had no choice. The Anagarika had gone, and I was just standing outside the pub. So the only choice, no choice at all, was, okay, head down and go for it. That's what I did. I didn't look to the left and not to the right, just like walking meditation, only fast. And you could see in the corner of my eye the room right at the back, and so I went straight there. I wasn't going to get any eye contact. You get eye contact, and people will actually say, "How are you? What are you doing?" And I almost made it really close, about 5 meters from the door, and a hand on my shoulder. Brahm, have a drink. What are you drinking? Oh, don't do me. And so very quickly I said, "I'll have an orange juice. I'll have it in the room if you don't mind." So sometimes you have a difficult life sometimes. You try your very best, but sometimes life conspires against you. Just like in your meditation. You try your very best, what are you going to do? So you make the best of it. And you don't get upset or angry. And for me, whenever something like that happens, I say, wow, a great tale, a story to tell in all the talks which I give. And of course, because they're real stories, they have a bit more interest and power, how you deal with embarrassing situations. You tell everybody. And then you don't feel so bad when your life goes pear-shaped, and it's not your fault at all. And then you find when you meditate, you're not such a fault finder. You can be very peaceful. Yeah, the food was not so good today, I was brilliant today, or I should have done the chores, but I forgot. I was supposed to be on an interview, but I forgot. And people are so hard upon themselves, and it's very difficult. I will tell you this, it's very difficult to irritate me. People say, "I'm very sorry that I was late for the interview." Don't mind. Be as late as you want. If it's too late, then I'm just not there. That's all the thing. I don't get irritated, you don't get irritated, so we're fine. And that means in the meditation, you're not proud or demanding in nature. You sit there, and sometimes when we're meditating, the great insight comes that it's not for me. I am not going to get enlightened. I'm not going to try to get enlightened. I'm not going to try and get jhana. That's personal, that's ego. Whenever there's an I involved, there's problems. So instead of thinking I'm going to attain something, I say I'm going to give. I'm going to give an hour, half an hour, however long you want to meditate. I'm going to give this, to my spiritual journey. It's not for me. Or, if you feel you're very grateful to myself and the nuns, this is my gift to Ajahn Brahm. This is my gift to the nuns who just sat there so quietly and so inspiring. So the next hour is for them. It's not for me. You just give. then your meditation really takes off. Because the I is taking out. That's why it even says that in the Christian Bible. If your eye offends you, take it out. And that's EYE though. No, that's EY. Yeah, okay, whatever. Well, don't do that. But anyway, just as you're meditating, if you're trying to get somewhere, you're missing the point. It's not about getting somewhere, it's being here. And when you're being here, that's called like stillness. And you can really be here, very much being here. And not wanting, not demanding, not proud, not trying to get anywhere. Just knowing what it's like to be here. Of course it's called present moment awareness, but it's much more than that. Because after a while, when you're really being here, your body relaxes and your mind relaxes. All your plans and anxieties and desires about somewhere in the future, where you want to be, what you want to do when you get there, and what you want with enlightenment or deep meditations, what it's going to be like when it arrives. We're not here. And the past as well. Just so many problems of human beings about the past. My friends were killed, massacred, mistreated. My partner just mistreated me. My parents weren't really loving enough. And that's endless. So where can there be some freedom from that? And sometimes I look at this monastery or this Jhana grove, all the difficulties and problems of building this. That's in the past. We've got this retreat centre now. Yay! And have you seen any signs in this retreat centre that this building was sponsored by Mr. Smith, or this hall was donated by Mrs. Jones, or this one was donated by someone else? We don't have that because we don't want to recognise the past. Just let it go. So don't give it importance. As human beings, we think history is really important. As everyone knows, it's the winners which write the history. And sometimes, if you were there at the time, some of the history, one person's version of what happened is not the same as the version which I saw when I was there. So history is very uncertain. And even your history, what you thought happened. As one philosopher once said, that the past, or rather your memory of the past, is much more faithful to your personal narrative than to what actually happened. You actually bend it to fit in to what suits you, rather than to truth. That's a bit sort of scary, but it's so true. To this day, just recently, my brother sent me a Christmas card, and it had these little choir boys on the front. And he said, I sent you this because I remember the time when I used to sing in the church choir and when I sang in Albert Hall. That's when my brother was saying that. My memory is he didn't sing in the Albert Hall, I did. And I notice this so often, our memories get mixed up. One of us did, but not both. It's like sharing. So, have you ever noticed that with your old brothers and sisters from way back? Who actually did that? You don't really know. But the memories change according to our narrative, what we want to believe. So because of that, you can't trust the past at all. I can't even trust the past the last time I meditated. So you totally let that go. What happens? There's so many people, they have something in Zen Buddhism called the beginner's mind, and it's a really good idea. Beginner's mind means it doesn't matter what you've done in your last meditation, good or bad. This meditation is totally fresh and new. Which means if the past meditation was hopeless, terrible, and it doesn't matter. This meditation might be the very, very best. And even more important, if you do have a really good meditation, never think the next meditation will be really good. Because we have something one of my other stories I haven't said yet. We have something called the story of this refugee. This refugee, because people always think that once you get a good meditation, now I know how to do it, and the next meditation will automatically be good. It's not, is it? Why? So this was a story I invented about the refugee. So a refugee comes with his family to Perth, Australia. And he was a doctor or an engineer or some highly qualified expert in his home country. When you come here, no one recognizes your qualifications. I can't resist this story. Many of you know good old Dr. Sanat Dittisira. He was a psychiatrist. He was head of the mental health unit over here in Perth for many years. But anyway, he told me that over in Sydney they invited this professor, I think from Berkeley, who was just really sort of smart in psychiatry, to come and do some lectures in Sydney University. But then when he arrived in Australia, he said, well, look, you've got qualifications in the United States, very high qualifications, but they're not recognized here in Australia. So you have to do a little exam before you can teach. What? I'm a big professor in big university. I have to do another exam? Yes. And they said, here are the 2 books you have to study. And that's really when the SHIT hit the fan. He said, look at this book here, said the professor from the United States. Whose name is on it? He said, that's me. I wrote that book. And it actually happened. And he said, well, I'm sorry, but you have to do an exam on the book you wrote. So that's how sometimes stupid it is. But anyway, the refugee came, and the only job he could get, he had to feed his family somehow, was on the building site. It wasn't like many people start work there, so he was fit, healthy. So he worked on the building site Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And every time he came home, his wife asked him, how much did you earn today, darling? Nothing. I worked really, really hard, but they didn't pay me. And he thought, these people in Australia, they just exploit migrants. Just because they may have come from a different country or have a different religion or look a bit different, I still work as hard as anybody else, but I don't get any pay. He went to work on Thursday, same thing happened, no pay. He didn't really want to go to work on Friday, but had nothing else to do. His wife sent him off there, so he went to work on Friday, and he got a big pay packet. He didn't have to do much work. He knocked off early, like everybody else in Australia on Friday, except me. And so he went home and he told his wife, had a big smile, he said, look at all the money I got today. He said, I finally figured out how it works in Australia. From now on, I'm only going to go to work on Fridays. Now that's a bit of a joke, but it also just shows that when we're meditating, all the other work we did in the other meditations, all the just bearing with or learning or just investigating, wasn't a very deep meditation, but you were still doing the job. Which means that your gift, giving this outer meditation, not asking anything back in return, that gift you're giving, it starts to build up energy. Build and build and build. And of course, one day you get your payday. When payday happens, now I know how to meditate. Now you've got to go back to work again. And that's a good way of looking at it, because it's something my first meditation teacher taught me, and it was a brilliant teaching. He was the one who taught me about, the 2-finger push-ups. And he also, I don't know where he got that from, but that was brilliant. And he also was the one who said, there's no such thing as a bad meditation. And straight away I thought, well, you don't know how I meditate. Well, that was so many years ago. It was so true. There's no such thing as a bad meditation. You're inclining towards peace, to understanding. And on that journey, you make many mistakes. I often say that when you make a mistake, it's not really a mistake, it's just learning something new, something idiosyncratic, something you've never known before. It's maybe a bit of a waste of time, you think, but no, you just learn no matter what happens. And you learn what mindfulness is. big word these days. What is mindfulness? And I see all of these definitions, but my definition of mindfulness is present moment awareness and silence. And even a little thing like that. Sometimes I have to read a report or read somebody's email, and it's an important question I have to ask. And I always train, I suppose is a word, when I read anything, to keep my mind silent and really in this moment. Because then I know it's a very efficient way of absorbing information. Silence and personal moment awareness. I don't think, how long is this going to take me, and try and speed read. No, just stay in this moment. Be here right now with every word and read it silently so it can soak in. Because I always find, it's an obvious thing, that when you are listening and you have your own inner conversation going on, you don't soak much of the information in. And I call that just total listening. And that's how I teach children to learn at universities and schools. Doesn't matter what the lecturer is saying, listen to it fully, without any words of comment. And the other thing which I noticed, and I see sometimes people making this mistake, when, say, even I'm teaching, they are trying to take notes. When you're taking a note, you're not listening to what's being said. You're looking at the piece of paper to make sure you got the note accurate. So you're missing so much when you take notes. So it's much better to trust your mind to be able to remember. And it does very well if you practice silence. And it's not just in your work or studies, because we all have to do some studies these days throughout our life. And a new career or a new regulation we have to get on top of. So little by little we learn how to learn efficiently. But it's not just learning from a lecturer or learning from something which is given on the internet, which you have to pay attention to. A lot of time it's just being able to talk with one another, to actually listen to one another. Sometimes the people say, you're reading my mind, Ajahn Brahm. I'm not, you're telling me everything. But it's not just with your voice, it's with your body, with your eyes, just with how your posture, even some of the smells which come off. You learn. The communication happens on so many different levels, if you're mindful enough. And that's why you can become an incredibly powerful listener and communicator. Because simple things like silence and awareness. And the other thing is learning this fearlessness. An idea comes up in your mind. It may be innovative, no one's done it before, but you try it and it works. People asked about that intuition. Is that really powerful? My goodness, it is. I've used that a lot in my meditation. Initially, you get stuck. What's going on? And trust your mind knows and follow its intuition. Or even in life. This story occurred many years ago now, when I was going to Kuala Lumpur to give some talks. The group over there still go there. They made me their spiritual advisor now or something. But anyway, it's a beautiful group. Lots of good friends over there. And this particular group, they said there was a lady who had sort of a big problem. Could I help her? And of course, the compassion of a monk or nun, of course we'll try our best. Don't know if I can or not, but give it a go. And because you're not demanding in nature, it's not money involved, and you don't expect to get it right. If you do get it right, that's wonderful, but you give it a go, see if I can be of service. And of course, I only tell the stories of the times I was of service. when you messed up and failed, of course, I don't say those. But when you do hit the spot, this was one of those hitting the spots which really surprised me. Because the lady came up to me, she was maybe about 40 or 50, And, because she trusted me, she actually just opened up about, please excuse me, but how she was very violently raped. And, sometimes when you listen to stories like that, you have to just hold back your disgust. I had to listen with a peaceful mind. It was a tough thing to do. And also, I've been told previously, she'd been to many counselors and psychologists and doctors and police and stuff, and no one had really been able to touch the problem. So often that's one of the reasons why a monk or a nun can actually be of service, because we are sometimes courageous enough to do something different. So I just made my mind so peaceful. I just listened with 100% attention and kindness. And once she finished talking, honestly, I could not believe the words which came out of my mouth. I just let them come, just automatic, not premeditated at all. And I looked to this middle-aged lady, really hurting and painful, and said to her, "You're very lucky to have been raped like that." She was shocked, and I was equally shocked at what I'd said. It wasn't coming from an eye. But what that did, that opened up this whole explanation or reason or purpose or meaning. I think meaning is the word I was looking for. And I said to her that these words just came out. You're very fortunate because you're strong enough so one day you'll get past that. And the reason I say you're very lucky, because once you have found your way out of that very dark hole, then you'll be able to do something which I will never be able to do. You may respect me as a monk, I don't have that experience. You'll be able to sit with somebody else who's been through that. You'll be able to put your arm around her and say, I know, I've been there. But more than that, more than just saying that you understand the experience, but you know the way out. You can take that friend by the hand and lead her out of that hole. Not one woman, but many women. That's the meaning of it. And that she cried, and when I remember that story, it makes me emotional too. It's so powerful. And instead of saying, poor you, I said, lucky you. How could I say that? Sometimes I feel, was that the right thing to do? But in that case, it worked very powerfully. That is like a deep insight. You see things in a slightly different way. And it really helps and solves the problems. There's no way I could wave a magic wand and take that terrible experience away from her. But to give it meaning, purpose, something she can do, and work with it, and see just how wonderful that would be for other people. That was the powerful part of it. So anyway, the insight in the life can actually solve so many incredible problems when no one else can. Just coming from the deep inside yourself. And sometimes those insights are not just what you read in the books. The books tell you how to find the way to get those insights. Being still, in this moment, kind, and innovative by letting go of all your fear, especially fear of what other people might say about you for saying things like that, and being critical of you. All those things which stop us using our wisdom, we've gone past. And little by little, that gives us a very great power to do a lot of good in this world. I know that sometimes people say, you Theravada monks, this is our tradition, Theravada, you're just in it for your own enlightenment. It doesn't work that way. Because the more you practice, the more you sort of get insights and stillness and kindness, the more even your kindness grows, the more power you have to serve others and to really serve big time. And so little by little, as you grow, so does your ability to serve and help in this world grow. And as you serve more, you understand more about your own mind. And there's all those times, not just with the female community who are just still discriminated against. You try your very best as a male, but it's still work in progress. But then there's also other people like LGBTQIA+, people who are disfigured, disabled or something. And just all the you might call it lack of fairness. But nevertheless, you can work a lot there, each one of us. But I remember the occasions that once when giving a talk in the hospital over in Maylands, somewhere, I forget what it's called, it keeps changing its name, Mercy Hospital or something it's called, maybe, I'm not sure. But I remember giving a talk there, and this elderly gentleman, maybe 60, 65, came up to me, and he said, and it's the way he said it was powerful. He said, religion has been so cruel to the gay community in Perth. He's one of the leaders of the gay community. And the way he said it, you could feel just the pain and the suffering, from where that little comment was coming from. And because I was getting up there and becoming more of a senior Buddhist, I said, no, I can't tolerate that. You have to give some equity to all types of people, no matter who they are or why they're there, even if they're criminals in jail. They're human beings, first of all. So I'm going to put aside looking at their crimes, even the really bad ones, and just look at the person. Look at the human being who's gay, who's transgender or whatever, and try my very best to stand up for them. And on this one occasion, I did some really good work there, because on one occasion I got this lovely invitation to the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras breakfast. I was very proud of that. So, well, I got an invitation, the gay and lesbian. I'm not gay, obviously, or lesbian. I was a heterosexual. And obviously now, asexual, non-sexual, or post-sexual, I don't know. Being a monk. But at that time, I was just so touched that they were going to invite a monk just because I stood up for them. And a religious leader who was standing up for them early on. So I really liked that one. And I probably enjoyed that invitation more than going to Canberra to meet the Queen. But nevertheless, those are things which you can do. And so stand up for peace, for stillness. These beautiful things in the mind. And after a while, you understand what they mean. And these aren't words. These aren't concepts. That's when people say, can you describe what these things are? You can't describe them. The words take you so far. The descriptions, definitions take you so far. And from there, you have to walk without any vehicles to find out what peace really means. What was that time that I do visit Dhammasala whenever I got a chance. It's not that I just reject Dhammasala. There's many other places I can't get to because it's too busy. But I remember one of the last times I went there, I just really I forget for what reason, but then didn't have much time. So they said, please, can you give us a Dhamma teaching? Please, 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 can we have a Dhamma teaching? Can we have something to hear from you? And so, it wasn't killing two birds with one stone, because I said that's not what Buddhists do. It's cutting two carrots with the same knife. And so I needed to go to the toilet. Now, please remember, in those early days, I helped design the nun's cottage, and I know exactly where things are in that nun's cottage. I was, there at the time. And so, that nun's cottage, the one which is around earth, I said, I need to go to the toilet. Where's the men's toilet? Of course I know where it is. So I said, oh, just over there, you see the door? Man's toilet. So I walked over to the door, and I think, many of you were watching me because think, what is Ajahn up to? And then I pretended to lift up my robe to urinate on the door. Without exposing anything, of course. And they looked at me, what are you doing? I said, well, didn't you say that's the toilet? It says on the door, the toilet. So that's where I'm urinating. That's correct, isn't it? That's what it says. And I said, Ajahn Bob, the toilet's inside. Well, why don't you put that on the signpost? Man's toilet inside. Because many of that language is a brief description. We're supposed to fill out the rest of what it's supposed to say. Any sensible person in the world will know the toilet's inside, not on the door. But I was doing that just to show the difference between knowledge and insight. Knowledge is the words. The insight is seeing where the words are pointing to. And that's the whole purpose of those words, to take that step beyond them. So you know the toilet's inside. You know that anicca, what is it? Impermanence. What is impermanence? You see all the water vanishing. You jumped out. It's not there anymore. All those words are pointing to something. Remember, all these insights which the Buddha talked about, they're really powerful ones. And then they really are powerful. Although they kick your butt, using as a male term. And you just go upside down and all over the place, and you're never the same again. If you really see what it is. It's not just rise and fall, or things coming and things going. They're things going totally. Things which aren't supposed to go. It's just like you buy a TV. The TV has got all these channels on it, and then one day the TV set vanishes. That's not covered in a warranty. It's not that the TV set is turned off, it's not there anymore. It's just vanished into thin air. That's freaky. That's what happens in meditation. You with all your 5 channels, and past and future channel, and thinking channel, and worry channel, and revenge channel, and guilt channel, all those channels you've got, they've vanished. Where did they go? You realize they're not important anymore. They're subject to cessation. First, that may feel scary, because that's your home where you live. It's a much better home when those are all gone. You realize, similarly, that, your life. Some of you are doing really well in life. You've got nice homes, you've got really good families, and you're doing well in life, and you're healthy, and things are going really well. But in Buddhism, we call this a prison. You're in jail. It's got these big 5 high walls in the jail in which you live. Those 5 high walls are called seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and physical touch. It's so hard to escape from those walls. And you've got a prison guard. You know what his name? It's a he, the prison guard. It's called Will. And you're so used to Will, you think it's your friend, always protecting you. And over those years, you've been born in the jail. You don't really work very hard in the jail. You can go to school and university in the jail and find a nice other prisoner to marry and have some little convict kids. So in the jail, and you do very well, lots of entertainment, go to other parts of the jail, go swimming and playing tennis and watching football and all sorts of wonderful entertainment. It's still a prison. And then one day, you find that someone's dug a tunnel in your prison cell. And the tunnel is called the Eightfold Tunnel. And you go along it, and you find on the other end of that tunnel, you're outside, free. No will to always tell you what to do. Has that ever happened in your meditation? You're really peaceful, and some idea comes up, you should do this. What am I going to do next? Is this right? Is this wrong? That's will. You know the name for will one of the names for will in the Pali tradition, Buddhist tradition, it's called Mara. Mara is supposed to be the head of the realm which controls other people's images. The control freak in chief. And it's only when people get either in jhana or enlightened, that's where Mara cannot go. Doesn't know where you've gone when you get into jhanas, because there's no will left there. That's one of the reasons why I was very, very happy. As with Ajahn Chakra, when we got our centre, we moved it from North Perth to No La Mara. Because if you've ever been to Malaysia or Singapore, they always add La on the end of things. Very nice food, La. Very good talk, La. Ooh la, La. That's only a joke for Frenchies, Francophones. But anyway, when you're outside of jail, wow, this is freedom. Yeah. So the jhanas lead you outside of jail. You get sort of day release or a couple of hours release. And go back into jail again after a jhana. But at least you know what it's like. What it's like to have no senses. No five senses, but the sixth sense. What it's like to be free of your body. Yeah, often the Buddha said the body's suffering. Buddha, I shouldn't say this. Ajahn Brahm said, like, the body is suffering. Ajahn Brahm needs to have some counselling and therapy. He's so negative. But it's true. You get into jhanas and you're free of this body. Oh, it's like you're flying, but not in the air. You're free of space, everything. So it means that you realise this body is suffering. The five senses are suffering. You're free of jail. You go back again afterwards, but you know the way out. Anytime you want a bit of a rest, meditate and get into some nice deep meditations. It's cool. You're getting insights, real insights, powerful insights. And of course, also with that comes anatta, non-self. And of course, with non-self, people get to philosophize too much. One of the little teachings of the Buddha, which was very helpful, he said, where there's a self, a soul, a me, an I, you'll find things which belong to you. Where there's things which belong to you, that's where the self is. And often we define ourselves by what we own. Your education, you're a doctor, you're a professor, you're a wife, you're a mother, you are a abbot, or whatever. But please know I practice to be temporary abbot. Monday mornings I'm only visiting, I'm not abbot. And when I go in my cave, that's abbot-free zone. So I'm not the boss when I go into my cave. That stays all outside, all that responsibilities and duties. I'm not a teacher when I'm in meditation. So all those things which I own, define myself by. Who are you anyway? If you had to write on a piece of paper who you are, what would you say? So girl, boy? That's girl, my young. You're not a girl, you're not a boy. You go into deep meditation, you're neither of them, not any of those. When you're young, you can see the girl characteristics come up. Now, before you're married or before you get to puberty, girls and boys, if it wasn't for fashion, you'd probably look exactly the same. And then we divert, female, male, and then when you get to my age, it all comes together again. You all look the same, basically. Flat-breasted. There's no curves anymore. Well, you do have a curve, but it's in the tummy rather than higher up. That is just there for procreation, that's all. That's not who you really are. And of course, what else are you? Smart? Ha 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 ha. I used to be smart. I used to have all this knowledge. It disappears. Thank goodness. So who are you? Sometimes, are you Western or are you Asian? Sometimes I don't know. I was born in one place, but I just trained and had so many friends in so many different countries, I don't know where I belong. That's why, if you ever had that feeling, you land somewhere and I'm coming home, all my friends are there to see me, and it's in sort of South Korea. Or sometimes go and teach in demilitarized zones or computer conferences or something. And that's a nice part, because sometimes you fly off from South Korea, you go into Malaysia, and all my friends are there. And you go from Malaysia to Singapore, oh, my friends are there. From there you go to Indonesia, all my friends are there. Oh, Selamat Pagi. And wonderful, you don't know where you belong. So you don't associate with a nation. You don't associate with a gender. You don't associate with an education. Little by little, you vanish. And as you vanish, it's so easy just to be peaceful and still, because what you own is what you have to protect, clean up, maybe make grow more or whatever. When you own nothing, yay, you're totally free. So little by little, don't just think of anatta as just some philosophical concept. Think about what you own and what you can give up. The last little simile is a simile of the hot air balloon. So once a person gets into a hot air balloon, they get into the basket, and up they go a long way up above the surface of the earth. And they get so far up, and they stop. It's like your meditation. You get so nice, but then you can't go any further. So what should you do? So you look in the basket, and you've got all this ballast, this sacks of sand or something. So you throw that out the basket, and you go further up. Look around, what else is there to throw out? You see your sandwiches and your tea, you throw that out too. And you go really high up, and you're still not ended yet, so what else can you throw out? It's just as you, the basket, and the balloon. The basket, who needs a basket? So you untie the basket and just hold on to the balloon yourself with your hands. Then you go really high up. And you're holding the balloon with just your hands, and still you get stuck. That's as far as you can go. So now what should I do? Let go of the balloon. And the balloon just goes off into Nibbana. What does that simile represent? It's not the best simile, but it's good enough. First of all the ballast which holds you down in life, past and future, throw that out. And then your food, all your other attachments which you have, throw that out. Your basket, and the basket represents your body, 5 senses. Because face it, when you get to my age or older age, you are a basket case. So throw the basket out, and your mind holding onto the balloon. How can you go further? Throw out your mind. And then you go all the way to Nibbana. Easy. And that's understanding non-self. But I can't throw myself off, I'll die. Oh, come on. You're not there. So you can let go. Go all the way to Nibbana. So all the time when you're meditating, if you get stuck somewhere, you're holding on to something you haven't let go of. So find out what it is. When you see what it is, let it go, and you go much deeper. It's much more fun. I mean, not fun, but real bliss. You get so far and you're still holding on to something. Find out what it is, let it go. And then you really bliss out deeply. You go closer and closer to freedom. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu. Always do things differently. Okay, I have a few interviews.